Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric here with Iraq Veteran 8888. Okay, today we're dropping a type of video that I don't think I've ever really done a video like this. So this is going to be a first for me, and this is going to be top 10 tips for beginner gun owners. And all right, I do have a confession to make. One of the things that gave me an idea for this video, I was watching some Minecraft videos. Yes, I know it's nerdy, but I saw a couple of Minecraft videos and some other tips on YouTube, and I thought, wow, what a great format. Maybe we should try that for our channel. So here we are, and we're going to be breaking into these. And of course, the purpose of these tips is to help out people that are new to guns and everything. And some of these things, it took me a long time to learn, and maybe you'll come away from this video with a better understanding and start your journey as a new gun owner, hopefully with a little bit less stress, okay? Because it can be daunting. So we are going to get into these tips, so stay tuned. This is going to be a lot of fun. And before we get started, I would like to thank our friends at Arkin Optics. I'm telling you, if you're looking for a great budget optic that can still deliver the goods, very rugged, excellent warranty. I mean, we have torture tested the crap out of these things. Look no further. These guys were founded by military veterans with a lot of experience, especially in the sniping realm. Their reticles are great, and they've got some good real-world experience that they put into their optics. And check them out, Arkin Optics, really good friends of the channel, and a big thanks to them for supporting our efforts here on YouTube. All right, without further ado, we're going to get straight into these. And I just sort of threw this little list together, and we're going to expand on a few of these, shall we? Okay, 10 tips for the beginning gun owner. Number 1, don't worry too much about what your first gun's going to be. Okay, this is obvious, right? Think about the first entry-level anything that you buy, right? Your first car, your first motorcycle, your first fishing pole, anything, your first set of golf clubs, anything. It's not usually the thing you wind up using for the rest of your life, right? So don't worry if the first gun that you buy is not like perfect for you, or maybe you don't like it as much. Somebody, you've got to start somewhere, right? So don't worry about it. Just pick something kind of cool that you might like. Do a bit of research. We are going to get into some other tips. But don't worry if the first gun you have may not be your favorite, or maybe you end up kind of going, wow, after a few months, maybe I made a mistake and didn't buy the right thing. Look, it's okay. The first gun you buy is probably not going to be your last gun, okay? So don't sweat it. Don't worry so much about what your first gun's going to be. Do a bit of research. We are going to get into some other tips, but whether you start out with a rimfire, which honestly I recommend a good rimfire pistol to start out with, especially if you're getting into the gun world from the perspective of wanting to have an EDC and carry every day. Crime is up. Crime has been kind of crazy, so people are choosing to arm themselves. Maybe starting out with a 22 to practice with and hone your skills. That will be a gun that will always serve you as long as you get a good quality one. You're not going to ever get rid of that gun, and then you can upgrade to something else later. Just a little tip there. Number 2, take advantage of all the free information on the internet. Now, I know it can be a daunting type of task to start looking at all the random videos that you see all over the internet related to firearms. Like, some of the information is really solid, and some of it, maybe not so much sometimes. But look, we're all grown-ups here. You can generally dive into a bit of information and tell, if your BS meter is clicking or not. But there are so many great channels that have entire encyclopedias of information related to all different facets of firearms ownership. And these resources are free, right? You can go on YouTube and just do a simple search for anything you might be looking for, and you're going to find a ton of information. And that information can be a little overwhelming because the firearms world is very vast and diverse, and there's a lot of different things that you can gain knowledge about. But the basics are there. In fact, there are many videos here on this very channel that cater just to beginners. I suggest you check them out. We go over carry ammo, shotgun ammo, different types of firearms, safety rules, all sorts of things. So I'll put a list of those videos down in the description box as a reference for you to get you started on your journey. And this is all free information that I put together. Some of these things I've learned over the years, and I just want to help you guys. So there you go, number 2. So number 3 is, don't let all the options confuse you or intimidate you, okay? there are more options out there for firearms than there ever has been. And that's great, right? Because when we look at, the firearms industry in general, competition breeds innovation. And what do you have when everyone's competing for that same customer base? They're all coming out with all these random products to try and earn your business, right? And when you're looking at, I've decided that I want to buy a striker-fired handgun as my EDC or something. Well, guess what? 20 years ago, that list would be pretty limited. But now, everybody has some sort of a striker-fire gun, and there's so many different variants. So it can be a daunting task to try to figure out what's what and what's good, what isn't. So don't let it intimidate you. Take a little bit of time, do some research. Don't rush into something if you don't feel like you need to, right? If you watch a video on a given product, let's say, for instance, Glock 19, all right, very popular striker-fire gun that a lot of people mess with. If you watch a video on a Glock 19 and you think that video is going to help drive your decision to purchase that gun, if maybe you're still on the fence, watch other videos. There's a ton of different content on various guns, especially really popular handguns like the 19 or the Smith & Wesson M&P or anything like that, the Shield or any of the CZ offerings. No matter what company is out there, chances are there's a handful of videos on that same exact gun that you're looking at. And don't take like my word for it or Hickok or any of the other channels. Watch everybody's content, and after a while, after watching several people talk about the same thing, you'll start to see the constants that come out of that video, what the pros and cons that most people tend to sort of gravitate to in what they're putting out in their content. And after a while, you'll kind of go, okay, this is what's up with this particular gun design. So yeah, don't let it intimidate you. But again, kind of going back to number 2, take advantage of all that free information. It's out there, and we're all big boys and girls here. We know, when we look at a piece of content, we'll be able to kind of figure out if if people are on the level or not. Okay, number 4. This is a good one. You're not going to be John Wick right out of the gate. Okay, so I know that there's a lot of performance expectations, right? When someone gets into guns, maybe you look up training videos and you see people like running and gunning and they're just absolutely slaying it. Like they're wearing body armor and gear and they're running around. They're doing some fancy looking footwork and they're running a gun like an operator should, right? Look, it is a skill, okay? It is a skill set. Manipulating firearms takes a good amount of time. And, a lot of that is weapons manipulation and familiarization, and also your physical ability, being in shape and being able to move around and manipulate a gun. Look, running firearms in a dynamic environment is let's just say a physical skill, right? That takes time. Like you wouldn't go run a marathon if you've never ran before. You're going to crawl, walk, run, right? So take your time and develop your skills, and don't try to be John Wick right out the gate. Okay, look, you can get there, but take a little time and work your way up to it, and don't be disappointed if your gun handling isn't as good as some of the real high-speed guys you see. Those guys have had years of training, obviously thousands of rounds downrange, and don't be frustrated if you're not, awesome right out the gate. It takes time. It's a skill that you have to learn. Okay, number 5, consider taking a basic class to teach you the fundamentals. So sort of piggybacking on number 4, you're not going to be John Wick overnight, but it doesn't mean that you can't take a good basic weapons familiarization course. There are more trainers out there than there ever has been, especially with all these new gun owners that are out there, right? As such, there's also a heck of a lot of people doing training. And you can just take a basic like Pistol 101 type course that'll teach you the basics. They'll go over safety, and they'll go over manipulation, holsters, drawing, sight picture, sight alignment, trigger squeeze, all the fundamentals to kind of help get you on your journey to getting better, right? So that is probably money well spent, right? If you're going to drop $500 or $600 or $800 or $1,000 or something on a handgun, depending on how far down the rabbit hole of, how quality of pistol you want to go right out the gate. And we're sort of, framing this in the guise of EDC, but this could apply to anything, right? Shotguns, rifles, whatever type of thing within the gun world you want to get into. There's always going to be some 101 variant that an instructor can teach you. Basic shotgun, basic carbine, basic pistol. If you're going to spend that money on a gun, right, you're going to buy some ammo, some mags. Maybe you're going to buy some support gear, a nice belt with a holster, or maybe a load-bearing vest or something like that to carry ammunition in. You might want to go ahead and invest a few $100, $200 or $300 to go take a class and get some basic instruction to help start you on your journey. So then you can, obviously these instructors will offer different levels of training. So you can start out basic, then go to intermediate, and then some of these guys go full high speed and get into the really advanced stuff. And, it's just like school, right? You start out basic and then you get harder as you go. Gun handling is the same way, and you can get whatever level of instruction that you want to be at up to that level. But start basic, work your way up. Number 6, don't be afraid to buy a used gun. Okay, now, a lot of people ask me about used guns. Hey, is it cool to buy a used gun? What should I look for? We have an episode where we break down in complete detail everything you need to know about buying a used firearm. I will put a link in the description box here below to that video that you can go and check out. I'm going to be putting a lot of resources here to help you. So if you stumble across this video, you can check out some of my older content that will totally point you in the right direction on this. But to kind of close up this point, this tip here, a used gun might be able to save you a bit of money, right? Sometimes, it may be a police trade-in or something, and you might be able to get a gun that's been carried a lot, but maybe not shot a lot. So mechanically, it's in really good shape, but maybe just has some rough holster wear. And look, for your first gun, that's perfect, right? You're not going to worry about getting it scratched up or messed up. You can carry it. You can drop it, do things with it, whatever you need to do, take it out, train with it, shoot it. And that's a great first place to start, is by buying a used gun, for a couple of reasons. One reason is because not only do you save a bit of money by buying used over new, but two, for your first gun, right, you may not know if you want to be a gun owner or not. Why go out and buy a new gun only to go, well, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. Now, most people generally, that's not the case. They get into a gun and everything's cool and they're happy. And usually what happens is the guns multiply. They reproduce, if you will. You buy one gun and it's like a Lay's potato chip. You can't just have one. You got to keep buying more. And that typically is the case. But if you buy that used gun first, you have a very low cost of entry. Okay. And then as time goes on, maybe you want to enhance your collection, buy some cooler stuff, or maybe you buy a great handgun that and it's used and you end up liking it. And then you go on and buy like a shotgun and a rifle, maybe a hunting rifle, 22, something like that. Okay. So don't overlook used guns. That's a great way to save some money. I know money's tight for a lot of folks, and, don't be afraid to buy used. Okay, number 7, you'd be surprised how many people that are probably familiar with guns. Now, don't take that as a crutch, okay? If someone, if, like, for instance, in your everyday community, maybe in your church, or maybe somebody that you work with, a coworker, bring it up in conversation in a low-key kind of way. Like, the people in your church or school or professional environment or your network of friends, the people within those networks that you are in good enough with where you can go, hey, do you shoot? Or maybe they talked about it in passing and you never wanted to really get a part of the conversation. Maybe that person that you overheard talking about a gun they bought, or maybe they went hunting with some friends or went to the range or something. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm thinking about buying a gun. So your friends might be a great source of information. Okay. They may even be very good at manipulating guns and be able to help you with a little bit of basic training to get you started. They might even know some folks, some friends of theirs that might have a used gun for sale or something. So don't overlook your friends and acquaintances that you would have never thought were into guns. But if you just know the right way to trigger the conversation, you might find out, wow, my buddy I've known for 10 years, I didn't even know they were into guns, and they didn't know that I wanted to be into guns. So that can kind of start that conversation, and you never know. You might have some advocates within your very own personal community that you didn't know were gun people if you just reach out and find out, you'll find that maybe they can help you. So don't overlook that. Now, don't rely on that solely, but that's certainly one way that you can get into this a little bit better, is by finding some folks that are your acquaintances with that, are into guns. Number 8, if you don't know something, don't be afraid to ask questions. Okay, this goes without saying. I mean, like, as we say, stay in our lane. Now, here's the thing. Especially if it's related to safety. Okay, if you don't know how to do something, you don't know how something works, how to unload or load the gun. Now, you should, of course, take a class or receive some instruction or do a lot of research before you try messing around with a gun if you're a first-time gun owner. But do not be afraid to ask questions. If you don't know anybody you can ask the question to, contact your local gun shop. Even if you just go in and say, hey, I bought a gun. I'm sorry, guys, but I don't know how to load the mag or manipulate the slide or work the safety. Most people, they will not have a problem at an FFL showing you how to manipulate your gun, even if you didn't buy it from them, because I feel like a lot of folks that work in gun stores, and I know because part of my past working in a gun shop for several years, you want to help people. Even if they're not your customer, even if they didn't buy a gun from you, you still feel like you have a duty, if you will, to make sure that they leave a lot safer than they walked in, especially if they're coming to you needing some basic advice. Now, I'm not saying give them an hour of your time, but definitely make sure they leave with the tools they need knowledge-wise to ensure that they're not going to do anything dumb or hurt themselves. So, again, going back to that tip, don't be afraid to ask questions. If you don't know, you don't know. There's no shame in asking if you don't know. Okay? Number 9. Always place an emphasis on safety, no matter how experienced you are. Now, this is a tip for new gun owners. However, this oftentimes can apply to the really experienced people even more than the beginners. And I'll explain. And that word is called complacency. People get complacent, okay? They wind up thinking, oh, well, I've never had a gun accident, and then they wind up doing something stupid, right? They shoot a hole in the floor or worse, right? I mean, accidents happen, but you can't get complacent. It's really important when you're a beginner to really, drive home all of those safeties, right? Every aspect of gun safety. I'm not going to go over every little thing. Of course, I have videos on the 5 safety rules. Okay, so I will put that link in the description box below. I have this entire series of videos dedicated to beginners. But if you want to learn more about some of the basic safety rules, definitely go check that video out, and I go into a lot of detail on those rules. But again, safety, safety, safety. Just like anything else, you wouldn't just haphazardly get on a motorcycle and just do some crazy stuff without knowing exactly what you're doing on a motorcycle, right? You put your helmet on, you put your chaps on. I mean, like, whatever you're going to do. You get in a car, you put your seatbelt on, right? There's all these things that we have as regimens in our everyday lives to make us safer, and guns are no different. They are very safe in capable hands, but you are dealing with an object that can cause death, dismemberment, injury, and everything in between. Okay, so it's on you to make sure that you're always being as safe as possible, and don't just take that from being a beginner. Even as you get experienced, don't get complacent. Safety first. Okay, number 10, it's okay not to know everything, right? Don't think that you have to be some gun guru to get into guns. Even if you just got some basic knowledge enough to be capable, to be safe, to be proficient, and to be able to protect yourself against a majority of people who may have a bit of training, right? Or your average criminal or dummy who's going to try to hurt you or rob you or worse, or whatever situation you're in, right? It's okay not to know everything. It's okay to not be John Wick, all right? It's all right. Some people just want to get the basics down so they feel comfortable and safe and proficient, and that's completely okay. You don't have to know everything. Now, there is a ton of knowledge out there. Guns is such an interesting concept, too, because from an engineering perspective, there's so many cool gun designs out there. But with military history and old school military firearms, black powder, old school stuff like that, you can really go down the rabbit hole of knowledge if you want to, but don't feel like you have to. If you don't want to know every little nut and bolt and screw on every single gun in existence, then don't fill your brain with that information if it's something you don't need. Just stick to what you think you need to know, and that's okay. You don't have to be a gun nut to be a gun owner. Now, I think most people tend to, end up getting more guns and getting more into firearms as they learn more about it because it's such a fascinating subject matter. But don't feel like, people are going to look down on you if you don't know everything. As long as you're safe, that's the biggest thing, right? You show up to a range somewhere and you're being safe and you're doing everything like you're supposed to be and you're not making anybody around you feel uncomfortable. It doesn't matter how much you know about guns if you're not being safe. If you're not a person that shows up to the range and someone goes, you know what, we don't have to worry about that person because they're doing everything by the book, and you know what, I'm not worried about this person shoot me in the back or shoot me in the leg by mistake because they're doing something dumb. They could know everything about every gun on planet Earth, but if they're not proficient and they're not safe and they're not capable, guess what? They're a liability. I don't care what they know. So remember, you don't have to know everything. So there's my top 10 tips for beginner gun owners, and I hope that this points you in the right direction. Yet again, check the description box below for a bunch of links to videos that will point you towards some more detailed videos on some of the things that we talked about here. Again, check out Arkin Optics, really great people, really rugged scope for the money. I know, man, we've torture tested the crap out of them. They've held up great. So big thanks to them for supporting today's video yet again. Also, go over to Ballistic Inc. and pick yourself up a new t-shirt. That's one way you can help support our channel if you wish to do so. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new to my channel, make sure that you subscribe. Click that notification bell so that you get all of our videos. We do a ton of different stuff on our channel. Everything from gun reviews and torture tests, reloading concepts, gunsmithing concepts. We get into more of the political / 2A, ambassadorship, if you will, and everything like that. So we've got a ton of things that we talk about here on this channel. Feel free to subscribe. Click that notification bell. Big thanks for you guys checking in with me here. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Have a great day. Many more on the way. We'll see you soon.